podcast where we put you on the map. This is Ron Costa broadcasting live in the Mappable USA studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. And everyone out there, we got a really interesting show for you today. We're going to talk about some investment portals, a few other things, and of course we're being quarantined with the coronavirus, so that gives another aspect of the show that we've never done before. So before we start talking about this, let's introduce Vicky Hutchmala from the World Token Market. Vicky, how are you today?
Excellent. Another fabulous day in Las Vegas. The sun is shining, the wind is not blowing, and it's not raining. So I think we're going to do a great podcast, and we have a great guest today.
Yes, if you're an investor or you have a company right now and you're looking to raise money or get on a portal, this is the show for you. You got to sit back and listen to this right now because we're going to bring you some really information. So with that said, let's introduce Rebecca Kacaba. She's the CEO of Dealmaker. And Rebecca, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Vicky, for having me. Great to be here.
Our pleasure.
Yes, great to have you on the show. Now, you're out in Canada, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, Toronto, Canada.
Oh, very nice. Toronto is the Canadian New York, right? Isn't it they say that or something? Maybe?
Well, we like to think so here in Toronto. Yeah. The chagrin of the rest of Canada, I think.
Yeah, of course, it doesn't even matter these days because everyone's stuck inside anyway. You can't go anywhere. But thank God for the internet. Exactly. Thank God for podcasts and all these video conferencing that we see right now. It's technology makes this a little bit easier to deal with, right?
Definitely, and I think that's one of the ways that Dealmaker, we've been really busy. This has been a terrible crisis globally, but we're trying to get out in front of issuers and help them and let them know that there is an opportunity to raise capital. They can raise capital digitally, and let's try to keep the economy going.
Yeah, that's one of the things that everyone talks about right now. You're still going to have to raise capital. So, I think we got the right people on this podcast. But before we start the show, let's talk about yourself, Rebecca. Can you give the audience a little bit of your background and, how you got to be where you are right now?
Yeah, sure, Ron. Love to. So my background, I was a capital markets attorney for over 10 years, practicing on Bay Street in Toronto. So for those of you who don't like lawyers, don't hold it against me. My co-founder practiced on Wall Street, and one of the things we noticed was when we were trying to help clients raise capital, it was a really paper-intensive process, and the clients didn't have good visibility into what state their investors were at, how to collect the money, and rounds were taking a lot longer to close than they needed to. So we designed the software, I call it like TurboTax for securities law, so that the investors, regardless of the exemption you're using, whether it's Reg A, Reg D, you're forming a fund, the investors get a really nice, seamless experience. They click on a link, they answer some questions about themselves, all that maps back into the document, and then they can transfer their funds to the platform as well. And then the software really helps the company close their round, collaborate with their lawyers or brokers, and really take a sales approach to closing an investment round.
Yeah, so your background then, you've been doing this way before the Jobs Act then, right, in this kind of industry?
Yeah. When I first started, we weren't even really doing this by email. So I really think the process evolved over email, but it's really not the best way to get a deal done, emailing paper, printing it out, hand signing forms, PDFing them back. If you look at the whole deal process, it just takes a lot longer than it needs to.
Yeah, did the aspect of going into, let's say, a techie type project, did that kind of scare you, being a lawyer by trade?
Not really. I mean, Matt, my co-founder, and I had started some practice group, venture technology practice area where we were advising a lot of technology companies and starting to work really closely with people in that space. So it was a natural evolution for us as we were looking to provide our clients with more value. And we just really saw a need in the market for a platform like this that didn't exist.
Yeah, what I like about what you guys are doing is you're designing the platform based on real-world workings and some of your experiences. So you probably say, okay, well, we've seen this before. Let's address that in the software, or we've seen this, so let's address that, and made it kind of like a seamless process because you kind of used your your background and your experience in anticipating some of the issues that these guys might have, both from an issuer perspective and a investor perspective, I would imagine, right?
Oh, 100%. I think that's one of the unique things about Dealmaker compared to, just any old crowdfunding portal or any portal that's out there. We've constantly been doing international raises because that's just the way, developing out of Canada, that's the way that economy works. A large portion of the investors on any Canadian deal are American. And so different nuances like funding offerings in multiple currencies, allowing investors to select their offering currency and tying that all back to the cap table correctly, make a big difference for an issuer and the convenience for their investors that other people just haven't thought of.
Well,
yeah,
and success is in the details, and there's no better people to work the details than attorneys. So you kind of had a head start in that aspect.
Yeah, definitely. We worked really closely with the developers, so it wasn't, it was really a combined effort of the legal knowledge with the software development that you can see in the product. At the end, we've kept the interface very clean and easy to use. Even though it's a very complex subject matter, it's important to me that if an investor is coming in to invest their money in a round, it be a very clear funnel and process. And that's especially important on a Reg A, right? You've got thousands of people going through a landing page and then needing to complete documentation and upload, tax forms or whatnot if they're accredited. We pay a lot of attention to that sales funnel and making sure that we keep the process as clean and seamless as possible for investors.
Well, and investors want to know that if there's an ease in the process and it's easier for them to understand and easier for them to put together, that it sets up a little bit more trust in the whole operation and you as a company, I would imagine that.
Yeah, it's a much more professional experience for an investor to go through. And what I think is interesting is that all of these best practices that are developing really in the Reg A space and for that Reg A space are applicable to any kind of offering. Like anything you're doing in a Reg A, you're doing en masse, so you really have to get it right. But that can come down to, an angel round or a Series A if you've got a lot of investors coming in. All of these things are going to make closing any round much more seamless and take it from a couple of weeks to a couple of days.
Wow.
Yeah, from an investor, actually from an issuer perspective, if an issuer comes to you, they pretty much know at that point whether they're going to go Reg A or Reg D or whatever they're going to do, right? They have that formatted before they come to you. Is that right?
Yeah, they usually work with their attorneys on deciding that. We're happy, to tell them what we see in the market because we do so many deals. We're posting, between 15 and 25 deals on the platform every month. So we have a good sense of what the market's doing and what best practices are. So, for example, you might see, an issuer who's going through the Reg A filing process and wants to raise a bit of capital in advance, so they do an earlier Reg D round. So, things like that, we can tell them where the market's at and how fast investors are closing right now, anything that helps them get their raise done better.
Wow. So are you seeing Reg A activity then?
We're seeing a lot of Reg A activity right now. I would say compared to other areas like brokered financings that we do or fund formation, Reg A is the most active right now. Those deals are just chugging along.
Wow, that's interesting.
That is.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that there's more Reg A now than there was, say, 6 months ago or a year ago?
I don't know that it's more than there was 6 months ago, but compared to the other areas of deal flow I've seen drop off, the Reg A are definitely holding the most firm. I think it's because a lot of people are still in front of their computer, and a Reg A is really set up with online marketing and online channels. So even with everybody, working from home, you still got people in front of their computer looking at the deal, and it's just a more technology-enabled way of raising capital. I think it's a perfect example to how any kind of capital raising should be done, and it's going to flow out into the other areas of capital raising as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And again, from an issuer's perspective, what's the process of getting their deal listed on your platform? I mean, you have to vet them somehow, right? And then I'm sure there's a timing issue as well from the start to finish. What's that look like?
So we just offer the technology services. We have different broker-dealer partners that we work with that will do any kind of vetting and KYC process, and they can do that all through our platform. So typically, we talk to an issuer before they file the A1, and then we continue the conversation, and we probably start setting up their deal about a month before they expect to get SEC approval. But I would say for any issuer that's contemplating it, really the longest lead time items for them are getting their A1 form drafted. It's a big disclosure document, and getting their audited financial statements prepared to file with the SEC.
Do you help them with that process as well?
We work with a lot of lawyers who do help with that process. We're happy to make introductions to the people we know who do a lot in the space.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess right now, where I'm seeing at least is the sweet spot on crowdfunding is the Reg.CF, because that's a little, I don't know, I think they changed the amount you could possibly raise to a little over $1 million. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, we're keeping a close eye on that. With some of the partners that we work with are looking into that deeply. I totally agree with you. I think that's a really exciting change, and we're going to see a lot of movement in that space, more capital being raised under Reg.CF for sure.
Yeah, and is there an industry right now that dominates your platform, real estate, medical, anything like that, or is it a kind of a mix of everything?
It's a mix of everything. We're getting some new deals. We've had 2 new deals up on the platform recently that are COVID-related type solutions. So one's a testing kit, and one's a little bit more deeper on the research side. So those are pretty exciting to see.
Yeah, they'll probably pop up a lot now with all this coronavirus and all these different tests. And oh man, I'll tell you, what a crazy industry that's going to be over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
You better be ready, Rebecca. You better be ready for that one.
Yeah, we're ready for that. I mean, we saw a lot up in Canada in the cannabis industry in the last year. That kind of tapered off in the fall, but that industry was hopping in Toronto for a long time. Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about your platform from an investor perspective now. So I go to your website, I see it, and do I just have a general sign up? Do I just kind of create an account, or how does that work? What's the process?
So the software is for issuers to go out to the investor base that they have. Maybe they're working with marketing partners or influencers or different channels like that. And then if they want to advertise the deal on different landing pages, they can do that, and investors may be drawn in from their own issuer landing page or from different sites that they advertise on. So we have different links that will aggregate all the investors from a variety of sources, and then they'll take them through our platform. So most of the issuers we see are working with a number of different partners to really get all the eyeballs they can on their deal. And that way that kind of maximizes the success. So it's a much broader approach than just working with one kind of portal that's going to give you access to a certain number of eyeballs. You can really use the software to piece together as many different resources as you can to make the offering as successful as you can.
Well, that's really brilliant, because you're really getting those investors, those issuers, to do all your marketing work for you then. That's great. They're out there telling everyone about your website. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
but other than that,
if the process goes smoothly, I mean, they should click through Dealmaker and complete the documents, the investors, in under 6 minutes, and then be done and never have to think about it until they watch their investment grow.
Yeah,
Wow.
And another thing I really like about it, I went to your website the other day, and I noticed on your homepage, I think it was on your homepage, you have some kind of a slider function that tells you how much you're looking to raise and how many investors, and you give all that information as far as the time frame. And I thought that was kind of cool. When you see it out there, you're like, oh my God, this is really great. This is a lot different from the way other people are doing this.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, we wanted to give a clear cost calculator for people to really understand the value proposition, because doing deals online is such a new way of thinking about the capital raising process. So we wanted to just make it really clear to them, like, listen, if you're going to do this with technology, this is the amount of time and money you save. It's all directly related.
Right, right. You know, one of the things that a lot of people who do portals always say to make their portal seem, I guess, better than others is they say things like, well, you know, we have a site that a lot of people go to, and therefore when you list your project on our site, you're going to get eyeballs from other investors that you normally wouldn't get before. But it sounds like in your case, the issuers are doing all that kind of work and saying, oh, well, you know what, find our deal here and fill out the offering documents, and if you're interested, you know, they're really getting the investors themselves rather than having the portal itself being the marketing angle of it. And that's an interesting way of doing it. You know, that's really kind of cool. It's really nice because people are bringing investors to you theoretically ready, willing, and able to go into the deal, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't find out about it anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's a key way of thinking about doing a successful Reg A. If you look at the ones that have been most successful, they're not just relying on one source of eyeballs. They're piecing together a bunch of different sources of eyeballs that are going to allow them to raise the maximum amount of capital. So we're the infrastructure that brings that all together, but they can really do a Reg A most cost effectively using us because they can go out to all the different sources. Maybe they have an influencer on the cap table who is going to post a link on Instagram. That's going to get them a huge amount of eyeballs and a great conversion rate. And then maybe they have a marketing company that they work with to produce, you know, their beer videos that they're going to be launching out to their mailing list, which has, you know, over 10,000 people already. So they can put a link in that. So they can really work with us to piece together the most successful offering that makes sense for that company at the lowest cost rate.
Yeah, but meanwhile, they have to have all their ducks in order in terms of the forms. They have to have filed with the SEC and get their deal qualified. They do that all on their end of it before they can even get on this platform. I mean, that has to be done first, right?
Yeah, we work with, we have a partners package, so we kind of outline to them all the different components that they'll need, the sales team, the legal who's going to help with the A1. We have a partner that does a doc generator for the A1 as well, so help them keep the cost down in that respect, and timelines that kind of walk them through it. So make it super easy, but again, always pulling in the lowest cost resources that we can while making sure everyone has a professional and elegant experience.
Yeah. What would you say is the time reduction on a percentage basis where they say, okay, well, if you do it through us, maybe your deal is going to move forward, 30% faster, or can you even calculate that number or something?
Yeah, it depends on the number of investors and the type of deal it's doing. I would say on a standard private placement where you're just doing it all paper-based, the time savings of moving to technology, the time and cost savings are over 70%.
Oh my gosh.
That's huge. Because that takes a kind of like a goal that's unreachable for some of these guys and makes it reachable. One of the things that really frustrates me about Reg A and issues in particular is that they think that they can do this all on a shoestring. They don't realize that, hey, you know what, this is going to be expensive. And when you start talking and you show them what the costs are on this, a lot of them are like, oh man, we can't do this. We don't have those resources. But what I do see a lot, and maybe you see this too, is the guys who are looking to go and really make a big Reg A plus raise and decide, well, you know what, let me raise money to do a Reg.CF first, or raise the money to then be able to go and do a real Reg A, and with the intent of being listed on an exchange. So you see that in your business as well?
Oh, yeah, we see that definitely. We help issuers. What's the nice thing, right, is they can do their initial raise. They get a bunch of investors. Maybe they don't close on everyone, and then at some point they cut that off, and then they move on to doing they're drafting the A1 while all that's going on, and then they close up that round, and then they start the filing process for the Reg A. I agree. It's an investment for sure. One of the things we put together is like a costed out pricing package with all the costs of the different aspects in it, so we can easily help issuers understand that right from the get-go, because we have a good sense, being attorneys, of all the different pieces of the puzzle that they're going to need to put together, and we can just help them know right from the get-go, okay, this is how much you're going to need to aim to raise to make this really cost-effective for the company.
Well, and that's a really important aspect, because you've gone through the process initially, and then you come to the point where you're ready to do the filing, start the process, and now you find out it's going to cost so much more, you're not even sure if you want to go forward. So what you do is make that easier for them and less stressful.
Yeah, like you're going to have legal, you got your transfer agent, you have us, your platform fee, you got your marketing costs, you need your call center. When you put all this together, let's take a step back and think about it, plot out the timeline, plot out all the resources you're going to put into it, and see where you net out.
So that you know it all ahead of time, and the shock value is gone, and you see a success much clearer in whatever time it is.
Exactly, and you can pre-plan that Reg D or that Reg.CF mini round to know how much you need to fund to get you through the process.
And plus it's very practical and economical, knowing that you have all the partners that are necessary for each step in the process, so that you have people that you have a relationship with that, the issuer is just like, well, what do I do? Where do I go? Who should I help? And you have it right there, kind of one-stop shop.
Yeah, exactly. Because ultimately, we want everything to be done compliant. We want it to be done well, and we want the issuers to be successful.
Well, absolutely.
Yes, and as far as the issues again are concerned, is the fee regarding what you're doing, is it a flat-based fee, or is it a percentage, or how does that work for the guys who are paying you?
So we do it based on the setup fees, and then it's kind of a matrix. They set up the deal with us. They may want some customizations. They may want some branding, and then a per investor fee. So we keep the cost low. If they don't raise as much, they don't pay as much. But if they use more load on the system, then there's a fee associated with each investor comes through. So the issuers like that because, as far as Dealmaker fees, it's not a huge upfront cost to them. We're in bed with them in terms of how much they raise. We want them to be successful. That's part of the reason we put together all the information on all the partners and things like that, because we really want them to be successful in their raise.
Yeah, you said the three magic words there: low upfront cost.
Yeah.
People love that. That is a really key. So that's good.
You can't really determine the cost, because each application, each company is coming with different criteria. So depending on the type of business, the amount of money, and what they already have, each individual project is unique. So you can't say it's going to cost this much or that much. It just depends on what they've done, how they've done it, and what they need.
Exactly. And some of them are very marketing focused, so they want a lot of customization in the way we set the deals up. We have different little sort of tricks in the question flow, not tricks, but just sort of ways that they may want their investors to work through the questions. So some people are very focused on that, and that takes more of our team's time consulting with them and helping them get their deal set up. So we just charge it based on the amount of time we spend and the amount of load on the system.
Right. Well, and you've devised a structure, I'm sure, so that you can figure out what it is that they need or what it is they want easier using technology than just having a conversation, because a lot of times people can't express what they want, but if you put the little buzzwords in that in the technology and the questions that they're answering, and that it makes it much easier for you to give them the final project.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the approval side, it's easy enough for their lawyer to log in and check over the documents, or whoever the compliance officer, their broker dealer, everyone's collaborating in one central platform, which is, given our background, is important to us. We want to make sure that the deal is done in as low a cost to the issuer as possible so they can keep the capital in the company, but it's also done in a very compliant and regulatory friendly way.
Which keeps the cost.
This is very interesting, actually. Rebecca, I have a couple of more questions. One of them is, as far as some issuers would rather not put their deal on a portal. They prefer to have it on their own website and have people go to their site to download the documents and the offering documents, et cetera. If a client went to you and said, well, we don't want to be on the Dealmaker website, can you customize it on their site as well, or do they, you don't have that capability yet?
So we almost every deal will do a link from the issuer's site so that if someone hits Invest Now, they then are launched into the Dealmaker question flow, and then they complete their documents, and then they can link back out. So we can make it a very seamless experience, but definitely, like, a lot of people are driving the traffic first to their website.
Okay. Because that's a lot of people have told me that, and I was like, well, that's kind of strange. Why would you not want to be on a platform? And they keep telling me, well, we want to keep the brand, we want to keep our clients on our site. And I'm like, well, you don't really have to worry about that. But anyway, that's
well, I think a lot of issuers. Yeah, I think a lot of people have that concern because they don't want to drive their investors to another portal where they're going to see other deals. So that's the benefit of Dealmaker. We're not doing that. We're not taking your investors and showing them other deals or advertising to them. We are your white labeled solution where you're just using it for the execution capacity, and that's it. So we kind of solve that problem for them where they have that fear of driving their traffic, and then someone sees another deal and says, well, actually, I like this one better.
Yeah, exactly.
I noticed that on your website that it's not. It's the issuer's private platform. It doesn't have everybody that you work with listed, so that if I'm an investor and I go to your site, I'm not going to see everybody, every project that you've done. I'm only going to see the project I'm looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
And that would relieve a lot of the stress that Ron's talking about the fear people have of losing their investors to somebody else's project.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, what they want is the data from their investors, which they export from our system, or they tie back into their own, MailChimp or whatever they're using to communicate on an ongoing basis, and they're having their investors protected and secure, which is the main goal for them.
Okay, and then my last question is, me and Vicki do a lot of we do crowdfunding via blockchain and tokenization of assets and that kind of stuff. We've been very heavily involved in that recently. Are there any projects that you're seeing regarding blockchain and tokenization that are listed on your Dealmaker site, or what do you see in that marketplace? Anything going on there?
Yeah, we did a lot of blockchain, I would say kind of June, July. We do a regular amount. I think there's a couple up on the platform right now doing capital raises. But definitely that's an exciting space. I think there's a lot of opportunity there, with a variety of the different deals that I've seen, CoinSquare, different things. I think that's a really interesting disruptive technology that we keep an eye on so that we can kind of layer the legals on top of it when the time comes.
Yeah, and any asset can be tokenized, so you would imagine that all these deals can very easily be put on the Dealmaker website, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
That's great. I
great.
think at some point that's where this all goes, right? It's just we're developing out the interface and making it seamless and clean and legally compliant for whatever exemption it is, and then you get everything on the blockchain.
Do you have issuers doing simultaneous, or is that even possible, doing like a Reg.A issuance and then a blockchain for the same thing, for the same company?
We often have issuers, like how we do it is we set up different deals on the portal for them, and they may invite different types of investors to different deals. You know, if they're in certain states, they want them to go through one form, or a different state to go through another form. So, yeah, we regularly see people with multiple deals set up and inviting people to different deals. Maybe they have a warrant exercise program going on that they're inviting people to subscribe in that way. Lots of different things.
So your platform is really adaptable to whatever it is that your client comes to you to do. So if they want to do a Reg A, you can do that, but at the same time, if they want to do a raise through blockchain and tokenization, you can do that the same way. So your platform is adaptable to the needs of your client.
Exactly.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Rebecca, you nailed it. You nailed it today on this podcast. You did. Unbelievable. I love the info here. Like I said at the top of the podcast, if you're an issuer or if you're an investor, you definitely want to listen to this podcast. And what we just went through is exactly the reason why, because your system is so adaptable. How long has it been online, by the way, Dealmaker?
We took it to market early last fall, so just a year and a half, and it's been great uptick so far. We ramped up really quickly. As I said, we're doing between 15 and 25 new deals on the platform every month, and I think we've had over 150 million in transactions processed through the platform.
Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations. That's great.
Yes.
And if anybody here is listening to the podcast and wants to check out your website or get in touch with you, Rebecca, how do they do that?
The best way to reach us is through our email, info@dealmaker.tech, and someone will get back to you real quick.
Okay. And for you out there, that's a .tech. It's not a .com, right? So you got to be aware
correct.
of that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
.tech.
So, Vicki, do you have any closing remarks or questions on this? This is a really interesting podcast, I'm telling you.
Well, you know what, I'll say this. What I find fascinating, Rebecca, is that you've taken Reg A people is one group, investors is another group, and then you've brought it all together with the blockchain group, which are three distinct pools of people, and you brought them all together to use one platform and have caused them to be successful in whatever they're doing. That's incredibly innovative, and I commend you for such technology. That's fabulous.
Well, thanks, Vicki. I think that, we talk about the goals and the reasons we set out for doing this. Originally, really, we just want to make the capital raising process easier so more companies can get capitalized and more issuers can be successful and use us to be in the marketplace.
And it sounds like you're achieving your goal. Your vision and your mission are being accomplished. Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, it's a big world out there. Many more countries to conquer, but we do our best.
Right. Yeah, well, they're all shut down right now, so they're easier to contact. But anyway, Rebecca, thanks so much for being a guest on the show today. We really appreciate it. I know you're really busy in everything you're doing, and I appreciate you taking the time out to talk to our audience about this, and hopefully everybody out there learns a little bit about what you guys are doing and how you can help both investors and issuers. It was really a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Vicki. A pleasure.
Yeah. And everyone out there, you're listening to the Mappable USA podcast at mappableiusa.com. Go to that website, scroll down, you'll see all our syndication sources. Pick the one you like best so you never miss another episode. And if you want to be a guest on the show, like Rebecca was today, there's a guest tab. Just fill that out, and we'll see what we can do about getting you on the show. So once again, thanks for all your support. Thanks for listening. We'll be back at you again with another Mappable USA podcast. Have a great week, everyone.